everybody, Jason here. Today we're going to be doing another book review, and it's about the Star Wars DARKSABER by Kevin J. Anderson. So DARKSABER is a book that I haven't actually read or don't remember reading. I started reading it and I quickly realized that nothing was familiar, because as I've been reading a couple of the other old canon books, as soon as I start reading it, I start realizing, oh, I know what that is. But anyway, I had a lot of fun reading this book. It was very well written. Key points about it that really interested me were the fact that even though it hopped around a lot of different characters and situations, all of the characters were solid. They were very well done. Each of them seemed like an individual, and the ones that they really focused on, they put a lot of feeling into it. Key points about the book is that it deals mainly with, I want to say, three main areas. One is Luke Skywalker and his love interest at the time, Callista. Basically, they're trying to find a way to unlock Callista's lost Jedi powers, and they're going on basically I want to say, like a little bit of a pilgrimage, trying to like retrace Luke's history with the Force in hopes to awaken Callista's Force powers. The second story, which I actually thought was going to be like the main villain for this, was dealing with the Hutts. Basically, Durga the Hutt working with an old Imperial quote-unquote general, and then also a character named, Bevel Lemelisk, who was originally the designer of the very first Death Star and also the second Death Star, and a person that's died a lot apparently, but continued to be resurrected. They managed to break into the Imperial archives using information that Jabba the Hutt had stored away, and found the plans for the Death Star, and then basically made a new one. It's a giant tube thing with a giant barrel at the end, and they were going to use it to extort money from planets that the Hutts wanted to control or bully into giving them money. Then the other part of it was the an old Imperial admiral by the name of Dala. She basically went on a quest to unite all the warring factions of the Imperial Navy, basically fighting for power as to who's actually in charge and who's the best one and everything like that. And ends up killing a whole bunch of guys and then actually unifying the remnants of the military into a pretty big fighting force and actually causing a lot of damage onto the New Republic, all in the hopes of just finally defeating the rebels. That's all she wanted to do. The underlying thing here is, the fight from the New Republic towards all of these threats. So basically, you've actually got the New Republic Armada going after the Hutts and their super weapon. Then you also have the Jedi, based on the moon of Yavin 4 that you saw in the original Star Wars movie, basically trying to fight for survival as the Imperials pick the Jedi Academy that Luke is running as their first primary target to strike like a huge psychological blow against the New Republic by wiping out their sorcerers. But the book played it very well. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, but it never felt like it was too much. And it broke it up in a way that, it's like if you read every single story, separately, they were a full coherent story, but it sort of broke it up into a point where, it sort of flip-flopped back and forth from different viewpoints, sort of retelling a little bit of the story from a different perspective, which was cool. I liked it. I enjoyed it very much. Characters that really stood out to me was one of the new Jedi. His name is Dorsk-81. I don't know if he's been in any other books aside from this one. The Kevin J. Anderson guy that wrote this one, he apparently wrote the Jedi Academy trilogy, which after reading this I really want to get into. I have to see if I own it. I might have to pick it up again, or pick it up in general. But I want to see more from this guy. I really do. But Dorsk-81 is a clone. The planet that he comes from, I think its name is Kom, and it's basically a civilization of clones. There's no breeding or anything like that. Everything is basically, there's a line of people that serve a specific task. There's usually the elder that teaches the younger, and then once they reach of a certain age, then they train a younger. And so I don't know if there's like lots of people in the line or if they're just like three, but basically they're all clones of each other, basically always fulfilling the same task. Dorsk being a clone, he's the first one of his line or on his planet to do anything different, to even leave the planet in like hundreds of years. And to be a Jedi out of a pool like that is incredible. And so he starts off as a very, it seems like he's a fragile character, like really teetering on the edge of being confident in himself or just falling back into his old way of life. And he definitely like pulls through and shows his strength, ending up sacrificing himself for the safety of all of the other Jedi on the temple grounds, where in like a really cool move, he basically channels all of their power through himself into pushing 17 Imperial-class Star Destroyers, like, light years away from the planet that they're on, damaging their ships, wiping their nav computer, disabling their hyperdrive, but also dying at the same time. And he actually had a cool line. Like, in the book, basically, he said... What was it? Sorry, I'm trying to find it. I tried to mark a few things that were interesting to me. But basically, somebody says to him, we don't have any weapons. And he says, we have the Force. And it's pretty powerful. Anyway, sorry. If you haven't read this one and you're really into the older stories, I would definitely suggest it. Typically, like, my favorite author out of this whole line has been Timothy Zahn, but this guy proves that he can write a good book too. Definitely better than the last one that I read, which was I think Dark Crystal. That one just wasn't interesting. This one, it jumped around a lot, but it was still fun. But yeah, definitely pick it up. On a side note, I have been sort of pointing out some errors in the books, and a few of them, and just some interesting things that I noticed. Basically, like Durga the Hutt, the leader of the Hutt group that's building the super weapon, which is actually called the DARKSABER. Basically, he sends somebody to go find Bevel, who he's really mad at, and apparently it's a human. And then when they find him, it's a Gamorrean. Let's see here. There's a part where, and I'll like write out what they're actually saying. Basically, Luke Skywalker and Callista have found a group of poachers on the planet Hoth. They're hunting for wampa pelts, but it turns out that the wampa that Luke cut the arm off of is still alive and angry. And he's leading an army of wampas to kill them. But they write, it's like, in unison, and it's supposed to say, in unison, the army of wampa ice creatures surged towards their victims. But in reality, what it actually says is, in unison, the R, like the word R, space, and then the letter Y of wampa ice creatures surged towards their victims. And again, I'll leave that right down there for you to see. There was a line where Wedge Antilles and his own personal love interest, they're on the smuggler's moon of Nalhutta, and let's see here. They're basically looking at vendors, and they see a plant-like alien that sold sizzling hunks of bluish meat on a stick, and beside it a fanged carnivore sold sliced vegetables. The two glared at each other with animosity. I don't know, I just thought that was kind of funny. Let's see, what else have I got? There was a line where he said that we have the Force. C-3PO kills the thing. Like, basically, they're leaving the ramp of the Millennium Falcon, and like a scout trooper appears from out of a forest on Yavin, and C-3PO gets into the gunwales on the Millennium Falcon and shoots it. And then he acts all surprised. It's like, oh no, hopefully I don't have to do that again. And then there's another scout walking towards the temple on Yavin, and it's like it's dark inside the doorway, and so it shoots inside, nothing happens, so it keeps on going forward, and then the door drops down and crushes it, and it was R2. R2 killed the Scout Walker, and he liked it. But anyway, it's definitely a good read. I enjoyed it. Hopefully you like this. I'll post a link up here to another book review that I've done. And then also, don't forget to comment on your thoughts about the book if you've read it, or let me know later on when you do read it, like what you think about it. In doing these, I kind of want to start a discussion with you guys about books in general. Yes, I'm reading a whole bunch of Star Wars books, but part of it's just a challenge that I gave to one of the ladies that I work with at my day job, basically telling her, it's like, I bet her that I could read a Star Wars book that I own like every day over the course of a year. Because she asked me, it's like, are you reading that Star Wars again? It's like, yeah. And and she said, well, how many books do you own? I was like, a lot. But anyway. Also, you can subscribe down below. Lets you know like when I'm posting new stuff, and also keeps you up to date with what I'm doing. But anyway, guys, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.